Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. As the age of beards draws ever closer, I'm going to be taking a look at week 2 of the Dwarf releases for Warhammer Fantasy. Here we can see the only item that I've currently ordered so far, which is the new Dwarf Army book. Nice piece of art there on the front. It looks nice and thick, doesn't it? I'm hoping this will arrive on the Saturday that it's released, so I'll be able to review it probably after 10 minutes of it arriving, just to make the review as worthless as possible, of course. No, but seriously, I'll have a look through it first, and I won't go into too much detail, I'll just touch on a few things. And then I'll probably do something more in-depth after a few days, looking at some of the combos that I can come up with. The next item that's up for pre-order at the moment is this, the limited edition version of the Army book, which has a cover on it with some runes. Yep, if you want to pay twice the price to get a snazzy limited edition cover on it, you're a better dwarf than I. Not exactly my idea of money well spent. Next we have this special character engineer, Grim Burlockson, who has a kind of shotgun there with 2 triggers. From what I've seen, he provides some very interesting bonuses to guns and war machines. Improved range and that kind of thing. Rerolls. So I can see why people would purchase him. I already have an engineer model, so I'm not sure if I would actually go for this one. Coming in at quite a hefty price, although as you can see here the detail is quite nice. Nice little pipe there. Little pipe, yeah. Big pipe. And I believe you can equip him with some different things as well. And there's a bundle attached to him, which is his war machine selection, which gives you the grudge thrower, the cannon, the organ gun, bolt thrower and the flame cannon. I'd imagine all veteran dwarf players already have more than enough war machines, so that was more for the new players, I would imagine. Not really making any savings as far as I can tell with this. Next, now this has got some seriously mixed reviews from what I've seen on the forums. This is the Gyro Bomber, which you can make from the Gyrocopter kit. This is the bombing version of it, as you can see, and I actually like this model. Some people think it looks way too squat-like, too futuristic, not old-timey fantasy enough. But I do not have a problem with it at all. I think if you paint it in the right colours, you could probably stop it having that futuristic kind of feel, if you think that's a problem. I don't think it particularly looks more advanced than, let's say, a steam tank. Not especially. I don't have any problem with it, so I'm probably going to be getting one of these, unless something really impressive comes out next week. I believe you get several different pilot heads for it, so if you don't want the goggles, you probably don't have to use them. I do like the look of those bombs. And I already have a normal gyrocopter, so I will not be getting the new normal gyrocopter, most likely. Which looks a little bit on the small side for me, whereas the bomber is longer. The proportions of the bomber seem more... I'm not sure about saying realistic, but this does look a tad, just a tad, silly. It does have a kind of Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman, I suppose he's supposed to be called these days, kind of vibe to it. A bit too rounded, perhaps. I much prefer the bomber. Although you do get a choice of weapons on this one, I think, on the front, which will be nice. And they're offering various bundles that allow you to buy multiple of these copters or bombers with one click, thus saving you from the risk of arthritis or repetitive strain injury. Although I think if you were putting together 6 of these things you might get a bit of repetitive strain injury. Finally, there is this Rune Lord, and you get a couple of different options for him. So I'm going to put both of these pictures on at the same time to show you the difference. You get the 2 different beards and the different arms, so we can be carrying the weapon there with a book, or a flaming rune and a hammer. And you can have him standing on a stone or not standing on a stone. It is quite a nice model, but not one that I'll be investing in personally, since I already have a couple of runesmith / runelord characters, and I have no need for another one really. If I was looking into getting one, I think I'd be tempted to go with the smaller beard there. I just like the look of that one. I quite like that book as well. You can see the detail here. It seems like a pretty standard thing now that all these plastic individual characters are all very detailed. All the plastic in general, really, which makes you wonder why they bothered with Finecast in the first place, doesn't it? Oh well. And then, of course, you've got the usual bundle with the army book and everything that's released, so you can get two to make both of the variants. Yeah, I wonder how many people actually buy these bundles, where they force you to buy specific models at exactly the same price when you could just put something in there that you might prefer to some of these things. Another thing I've noticed actually this week is that they've removed some of the old character models from the Dwarf page. I don't know if they're still available anywhere else, but particularly there was an old one on an oath stone that you can't get anymore. So if you want a character on an oath stone, I believe you're now forced to spend £13 on the brand new guy, unless you can find one of the old ones on eBay or something, or any place that's still stocking it. So I thought that was interesting, because I was looking through the suspected new rules, and one of them is that with oath stones you'll now be able to move, which was the main drawback of them last time, because as soon as you activated them you were just stuck in that one place for the entire game, unless you didn't want the benefit of it anymore. So being able to move around and still keep the effects of an oath stone makes it a much more viable proposition in my opinion, so I'd be tempted to buy one, but not necessarily by being forced to get the one that costs £13. I shall look into my options before making a decision on that front. As far as next week goes, the only thing that's rumoured so far, or has been pictured at least so far, is the Iron Breakers, which can also be made into the Iron Drakes. And there's pictures floating around out there, but I'm not going to put these on this video. This will not be the only video that I release this week. I'm also going to do one looking at the previous Dwarf Army books. Nothing too seriously in-depth, just going through, comparing them, seeing what differences have been made over the years, and a little bit more speculation on what the new one is going to be like. And then on Saturday, fingers crossed that it'll actually arrive on the day of release, I'll review the new book. If it doesn't arrive on Saturday, then presumably I'll get it on Monday, which I'm sure would drastically harm my viewership. So I'm hoping for a Saturday delivery. If I don't get it, then I will lay all the blame at the postal service, because I've been informed by the online store that I purchased it from that it will be dispatched on the Friday. It's looking like there's not going to be too much more in this Dwarf release. Maybe one or two more items next week, which leaves a couple of things out that were heavily rumoured, which would include plastic slayers, which can also be made into another kind of slayer perhaps, and some really large centerpiece for the army, some kind of big orc crusher was the rumoured name for it. If these models actually do exist, I would suspect that because this could be quite close to the next edition release, they may hold a couple of things back to release when that comes out. That would not surprise me in the least. It is rumoured that they have a lot of models ready well in advance and just kind of sit on them for a long time until they deem that the moment is right. They may just be waiting a month or so and do another wave of dwarves. You never know. We shall have to wait and see. But for now, I bid you good day.